Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News for You. And if you watched Children in Need, which replaced us yesterday, then I hope you enjoyed seeing a bunch of celebrities humiliate themselves for money, because it's about to happen again. In the news this week, police react instantly to reports that Jack Straw's house has been burgled. On the Ukrainian version of Big Brother, doubts are raised about the tasks being set for the contestants. And at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, a group of teenagers regret spitting at staff. On Ian Hislop's team is a London comedian who lives south of the river, which, after the recent weather, means somewhere in France, Linda Smith. And with Paul Merton tonight is a BBC news reporter who has been compared to Des Lynam, so he could be an ITV news reporter by the end of the programme, Jeremy Bowen. Round one concerns the major news stories of the week and the way in which they've escaped the attention of our panel, Paul and Jeremy.
That's George Bush
and Dick Cheney, his running mate.
And there's Al Gore and Tipper.
And they're arguing because they can't decide who's won the election. They're still counting. And that's called a chard, which is a little bit of paper that they have to push out of the ballot with their machine. And that's what the row-'s all about, because some of the chards are still hanging off the edge, some of them have been pushed all the way in, and that's why they can't decide who's going to be the most powerful man in the world. Standard chards.
Can I just at this point apologise for feeling a little hoarse? It's just that we're old friends.
Yes, the chards, the bits of paper. There are different grades of chards.
They've all got little names. One's like the swinging door.
Swinging door. Oh.
Swinging door.
There's one that swings open. That's sort of advent calendar one.
Yeah, that's very nice, because there's often a little robin behind that one.
Yes. And then there's a dimple and a pregnant. Which
That's
is
a Clinton, is it?
Pregnant when it's...
Yes, when the hole puncher hasn't actually gone through the ballot paper. So were you out there for the big night?
I was there for the big night, yeah, I was there.
Sorry,
No, you
I
weren't.
thought you were talking to me. I wasn't there at all. No. Were you there?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, well, you should speak to him then.
OK.
Did you say it's too close to call a lot?
Quite a bit, yeah.
That's a good bet, isn't it?
They want to get Anne Robinson out there. She'd sort it out. George W. Bush, you are as thick as shit. Goodbye.
Yes, it is the news that after a week the US election still has no winner, which presumably means next week's a rollover. With the election undecided, Mr. Bush remains the governor of the state of Texas, which this week announced plans to execute a man with a mental age of 6. If there's one thing George Bush hates, it's a smart-ass. Ian and Linda, chops away.
Planes.
Planes?
This is a very good idea in the current climate. Having established just how safe the privatised railway is, the government has decided to privatise the air traffic control system. Brilliant.
You sometimes wonder if they're drug addicts. They just seem to be selling things off. You know, if you went round Downing Street, there's probably not a stick of furniture.
They had a rebellion.
Yes, 37.
Amazing. Labour rebellion. It's not two words you ever thought you'd see together, really.
Yes, but
Like
also...
Genesis Live.
Yes. And what other air safety problems have been in the news this week? There was one that goes by the name of ice bombs. You come across these?
Oh, yes, that's frozen urine.
Which fall from planes, in fact.
Some went through the roof of a school in East Sheen.
Was this blue ice or the heavier version?
It's heavy ice.
Presumably it's not blue, so I'm not quite sure why they call it blue ice.
Well, the chemicals they use in the loo is sort of blue, isn't it?
So if you find a big snowball that has a refreshing smell of pine...
Leave it. This is the government's plan to privatise air traffic control. According to The Times, the British Airline Pilots Association warned of impending disaster as privatisation would be a rail track of the clouds, which presumably means planes falling out of the sky as they're forced to travel at 15 miles an hour. Paul and Jeremy.
This is Emma Richards.
Oh, yes, this is the girl who had her legs extended.
Yeah, she wanted to be an air hostess, but she was 4'9", so they've stretched her by, I think, already about 5 inches. Oh, that's not Emma, that's Lloyd Grossman.
I thought she'd changed.
He's been given the job of trying to teach the NHS how to serve food nicely and well and how to cook it properly and get it to the beds still warm.
I once caught hepatitis A from hospital food. I did. I was in hospital for something else and I also contracted hepatitis and the doctor came round and he said, "Oh, you've just got that off lunch."
And did you sue?
Who?
Did you sue?
No, I didn't sue,
Right,
no.
okay.
Did you?
No. It would be an odd lawsuit, wouldn't it, me suing on your behalf?
Well, why not?
Because it wouldn't make any kind of sense at all, Paul.
Does everything have to make some kind of sense, Angus? How can we allow the world of fantasy and imagination to transport us to a better place where our throats are all right?
So we seem to have deviated a bit from Emma Richards, who was the girl who had a...
Oh, yes, Emma.
Yes.
Emma wanted to be an air hostess. It was her dream. It is her dream to fly the world, but she was a bit too short for it. So the NHS is stretching her thighs, actually. They break her thighs and stretch them.
Is this a priority operation in the NHS
For
now?
Emma, it's very
I
important.
think it was a technique pioneered by the Spanish Inquisition.
I can't imagine there's much of a waiting list for it.
There is a waiting list, it's getting longer by the
500 other
day.
people.
Yes, it cost the NHS £12,000 to stretch
She
her
should
legs.
get her own jetpack. She wants to go around the world, she doesn't have to stretch her legs, she can have her own jetpack, she can go where she likes. She can fly at night, the Canary Islands one day, go to the, you know, Portugal the next.
Or get a jetpack and tie her feet down.
Yeah. Would you like your own jetpack, Jeremy?
It'd be lovely.
Yeah, there's two of us, why can't we have them?
Well, why can't you have them? Why don't you go and buy one?
Well, where'd you buy them?
Jetpack shops.
I'm going to make a note of that.
Yes, this is Emma Richards, would-be air stewardess, will-be basketball player. But despite the success of the operation, doctors are now concerned that Emma's legs may be too weak for her to become an air hostess, worrying that they could snap under the weight of the makeup. And finally, Ian and Linda.
Well, that's the
Load of
great
lorries.
fuel protest.
Either that or Shania Twain's playing Wembley.
What's that all gonna say?
We've been shafted by Blair's gay mafia. And all we got was this lousy banner.
Well, it's the convoy,
It
isn't
is.
it? All coming down from wherever they're coming down from. And, well, I can't really believe those wagons are empty, not knowing hauliers, really. But if you opened up the back of them, there'd be all their wives in there fiddling the VAT returns.
I wouldn't like to be you on a motorway tonight.
So they're all heading to
Yeah.
London to make... See, this is what I don't understand. They're always moaning about the price of fuel, but they always keep going on these pointless journeys. You know, that must cost a fortune. Plus, it's silly, there's one of them in each lorry. Isn't that silly? They could all go in the one.
But we should also mention, I think, a prize for the wittiest trucker slogan, even wittier than the Gay Mafia, which is this one: "Tell Gordon Brown 2p off."
When do you think they were making that sign that they realised they didn't have enough room to put Gordon?
What is a gay mafia, anyway? How do they carry on, the gay mafia? They stand there and go, "Hey, what? Peter, you're wearing those pants with that shirt? Forget about it." Hey, you know what will brighten up this hideaway? Some scatter cushions.
This is the convoy of truckers that arrived in London to protest about tax on fuel. The convoy leader, Andrew Spence, after driving 340 miles from the north of England, said, "I've never been to London before and I feel a bit overwhelmed," before adding, "Oh, look, a branch of Barclays." So, at the end of that round, the scores are like a couple of Westlife hits, both identical, being as they are 4 apiece. Round 2 this week, by popular demand, features quick-fire questions exclusively on the Millennium Dome, one of the rare occasions Millennium Dome and popular demand have been heard in the same sentence. So, fingers on buzzers. According to a document leaked this week, what did Robin Cook say about the dome during the cabinet meeting in 1997?
Wouldn't mind giving it one.
He said we can always blame the Tories if we stop now. Frank Dobson said the dome should be fired into outer space. Slogan could have got him elected. Before becoming the chief executive of the dome, what was Pierre-Yves Gerbeau in charge of at Euro Disney?
That's this way, Angus.
No.
Oh, it was
It's quite a simple system, Angus. If the light goes on, you look this way.
yeah.
I don't think Anne Robinson's
Not that
exactly
simple.
quaking in her boots, is she? Guess who's the weakest
Weakest
link in
link,
this
yeah.
quiz?
What was Pierre-Yves Gerbeau in charge of at Euro Disney?
Car parks.
Yes, ticketing and car parks.
Yep.
How does Pierre-Yves Gerbeau like to be known?
The gerbil.
PY, pronounced pee-wee, although this could be a French joke, as it's in no way amusing. When did the dome go bankrupt?
About 6 weeks ago.
More than that.
The day after it opened.
It was the second month, in fact. In February it went bankrupt, after which it was given an additional grant of 60 million in March and 29 million in May. And in June, Monsieur Gerbeau was asked if he needed any more.
No, I got that grant on the table. That's exactly what we're going to need, and this is it.
So categorically, no, you're not going to ask for any more money?
No.
And what happened next?
He asked for more money.
So I was getting a bit cold.
Yes, he was given another 43 million the following month and another 47 million in September. As chairman of the Millennium Commission, who did Culture Secretary Chris Smith write to this week asking for more money for the dome? Ian?
Linda.
Sorry, Linda.
It's a nice try. It's the right side.
They are very similar.
Well,
Ian and Linda.
Oh, it's pretty offensive to Linda, isn't it?
Doesn't do you any favours either.
What was the question?
as chairman of the Millennium Commission, who did Culture Secretary Chris Smith write to this week asking for more money for the dome?
Faulkner. Blair.
Elton John.
No.
Peter Mandelson.
In fact, the answer is the Culture Secretary Chris Smith. He wrote to himself.
And what did he say?
He hasn't received a reply yet, as he's very busy. What was Monsieur Gerbeau's excuse for this photo call? Yes?
These are the people who are going to be at the end-of-year dome sort of party thing.
Here's the wrong answer.
Oh, is it?
He was welcoming Bewitched to the dome earlier on this year.
That's Bewitched, is it?
Yes. Are you familiar with their work?
I'm more of an S Club 7 guy.
And how did Pierre explain this one away?
This is the end of dome party. This is the end-of-year party. It's the Ministry of Sound.
Yes, this is the announcing plans for the Ministry of Sound party. And
He
what
looks
was his-
jolly happy, doesn't he?
He just likes girls. That's why he keeps getting into these messes.
That's why he's holding the hand of the man. And what was his alibi for this one?
Is he going back to France?
You wouldn't want a wind coming up from the Isle of Dogs when you were doing that, would you?
It was a troupe of can-can dancers booked for Bastille Day. In 1997, what exciting new activity intended for the dome did Peter Mandelson describe... Yes, Ian?
That's very good. Now, this is a game that Peter Mandelson said one of the big attractions is going to be surfball. It's a fantastic new game, but unfortunately it doesn't exist.
That's correct.
He'd
yes.
made it up.
What was later explained away by Mandelson in the House of Commons as... Do you know how he described it?
A lie?
It's a sort of euphemism for that. Illustrative was how he described it.
Illustrative.
That's one for the Porky Pie zone, I think. What international event is going to be staged at the Dome later this month?
Miss World.
Miss World on the 30th of November, and who's hosting it?
Eric Morley.
Only in spirit.
Yes, I think probably not, given the circumstances. More American, really.
Eric Morley.
Jerry Springer. And finally, what award has the Dome received this week?
I don't know.
It's been voted the most depressing thing in the world. Is it more depressing than clinical depression?
Yes, I'll give you a point for that. It's voted by the public the most depressing feature of the year, beating floods, rail chaos and the breakdown in the Middle East peace process. Which white elephant brings us charging to the end of this fiasco with Ian and Linda heading for an early exit. Behind us they are 9-7. For round 3, we replace quickfire with slow burn as we offer our traditional odd one out challenge. Paul, your decidedly odd ones are the Pope, Jerry Halliwell, Henry VIII and a Big Mac.
Dear. I don't know what this is at all.
Good.
Well,
Ian, any idea?
Well, 3 of them have got white things on their head. Sesame seeds, cat and feather. The finest half-back line West Ham ever had.
This week, some Catholic newspaper said that Big Macs aren't Catholics. They're Protestant food. So I think if burgers are Protestant, then Henry VIII was a Protestant. Is Jerry Halliwell a Catholic? It's all people who've been attacked by the Pope. Henry VIII attacked by the Pope. Jerry Halliwell attacked by the Pope for the spice phenomenon. And spicy buns. God knows, Angus.
The answer is they've all been denounced by the Catholic Church except for the Pope, who is, of course, head of it.
That's what I said.
So, pretty much, yeah. Jerry, in fact, performed dirty dancing routine with a dancer dressed as the Pope.
Right, he wouldn't have liked that.
Rome. Not a good idea, really. And who else was denounced by the Catholic Church this week? There was a TV channel, a Sicilian TV channel called Video Golfo, which features bulletins with a newscaster reading the news whilst 4 strippers dance and kiss him.
Sounds like a good job.
Yeah.
And now for a quick news flash.
So how would you feel if it was suggested that you strip?
I'd try it, yeah, why not? I mean, you have one with Greg Dyke, maybe we can get it on in the mornings.
So someone was saying that you're an internationally renowned newscaster. You're recognised all over the world, is that right?
The BBC's on the news around the world these days, actually. It's quite easy to be recognised around the world if you work for the BBC.
Didn't some Arab terrorists once stop you because you were in a car saying BBC?
It happens a lot. I mean, not just Arab terrorists, Albanian gunmen and Jewish extremists.
But didn't they get the wrong one once? They thought you were someone else?
No,
Not Des Lynham again.
I thought they mistook you for Jeremy Clarkson.
No, that never happened to me.
No.
Doesn't happen on Parky, does it? He prompts them with an anecdote and they go, no, never happened.
Well, you don't know it doesn't happen on Parky because you don't actually see it on Parky.
Cut out.
And I wonder if we'll see it on this show. This week the Pope criticised McDonald's for their burgers. He claimed their fast food encouraged self-gratification and went on to remind Catholics that they faced being condemned to the eternal flames. So good news for Burger King then. Jerry Halliwell is about to branch out into a variety of projects and earlier this year was linked with The Sound of Music. It's the first time that's happened. Jeremy, William Shakespeare, Fyodor Vasilyev, George W. Bush and Benito the Anteater.
Maybe it's about some kind of substance abuse, because George W. Bush was done for drinking and driving, and the untold story about Bush is supposed to be that he had a big drug habit in his youth, allegedly. Maybe.
You heard it here first.
And Shakespeare, he had cannabis in his pipe.
Yeah. Who's this guy at the top right, though?
He is an 18th century farmer from Russia.
Benito had twins lately, didn't he? Or something? Or there was something about breeding anteaters in zoos.
Has George Bush got twins? Has he? Shakespeare had twins?
George Bush is the odd one out.
Why?
Because he hasn't got whatever it is that the others have got.
And did this farmer have the most number of twins ever or something?
Yes, the answer is that they've all fathered a set of twins, except for Fyodor Vasilyev, who fathered 16 pairs of twins, as well as 7 sets of triplets and 4 sets of quads, making a total of 69 in all. They were going to stop at 68, but the last one was a bit of an accident. So, yes, George Bush has twin daughters, Barbara and Jenna.
She's got a big love bite, the one on the left, hasn't she?
Do you know who she was named after?
Yes.
Barbara Bush, his granny.
Yes. And what has she found?
Was it a drug rehabilitation thing?
No, it was the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy.
Keep those donations coming in.
Or keep those donuts coming in this game.
And Benito the Anteater, yes.
He had twins recently.
His partner had twins. He was the male.
Was that another anteater?
It was fortunately another Anteater.
No,
yes.
that's good.
Called Sauna, who was British. But he was German. They come over here, they shag our Anteater. We can have a look at one of the little ones that was born.
Oh. It's wearing glasses.
They don't look like each other, the twins, do they?
When Benito, the Anteater, impregnated his partner Sauna at London Zoo, staff were delighted because Anteater pregnancies are extremely uncommon, presumably because having a 4-foot tongue they rarely get past the foreplay. Linda, your Toff Brigade comprises the Queen, Michael Heseltine, Mohammed Al-Fayed and John McIntosh, OBE, MA, FRSA on FCP.
That's not how you spell Macintosh.
I think he's an auditor.
An auditor?
Yeah, I think he might be the auditor for the Dome.
Ah, right, that's had an audit recently.
They're all for the Dome except him, and he's against it.
I can give you a clue, which is it has nothing to do with the Dome.
Oh.
Right.
It's something the Queen did this week that got her onto the front page of The Sun.
This is mobile
phones.
Yes,
She doesn't like them.
that's right.
Courtiers. They're halfway through dinner, all of a sudden, the novelty phone ring, La Cucaracha, Tijuana taxi, something like that, puts her right off.
And you're not allowed them in Harrods. He's banned them from Harrods. And this is the teacher that banned them from his classroom.
And Michael Heseltine, he loves them. He loves mobile phones.
Well, yes, there's another reason why Michael Heseltine has been chosen as the odd one out, which is that his phone actually went off in the House of Commons during a debate in which he was speaking. So, yes, it is that they've all banned mobile phones apart from Michael Heseltine. Mohammed Al-Fayed has no need of a mobile as he can deliver fractured and incomprehensible sentences without using one. And finally, in this round, Ian, your schoolboy heroes are Roy Keane, Pikachu, Norman Betterson and John McIntosh.
Did he ban collecting cards of all of those people? Pikachu cards, obviously. Roy Keane cards. A lot of schoolboys collect Norman Betterson cards, collect your top coppers, swap them in the playground, swap you for the Chief Constable of Kent. No, it's not that, is it?
It's dangerously close, I have to say, yes. There is, in fact, a new collection of cards.
With policemen on them?
That's right, yes.
You can't make it up, can you?
Chief Constable of Merseyside Police, Norman Betterson, features as number 1 in this collection. We can have a look at it, there we are. Do you know what the idea of this is?
Top of the cops.
It's to familiarise local kids with the police. And do you know how they get hold of these cards?
They steal them.
No, they have to ask a policeman on the beat for his card. They all carry their own cards, you see.
Ah.
Yeah, the answer is they've all featured on collectible cards, with the exception of Headmaster John McIntosh, who has banned Pokemon cards from the London Oratory School. According to BBC News, some London schools have invented their own bizarre version of the Pokemon card collecting craze using prostitutes' calling cards. With the slogan, venereal diseases, gotta catch 'em all. Which collective bargaining means at the end of this exchange, Ian and Linda are the current leaders of the pack, ahead as they are 15-9. And so to the terminal case of our final missing words round, the usual gaggle of butchered headlines, including many less or fewer from this week's guest publication, the really quite excellent Carrot Country. So get down and get with. Jumpstart your what?
Carrot.
Is the right answer. Next, scientists to recreate what?
Anthea Turner's talent in a saucer.
it's the flu virus that Paul's got.
It is.
It killed, didn't want to tell, it killed 40 million people in 1918.
That's absolutely right. Flu virus that killed 40 million people is the answer. Next, police say sorry for what?
Walking on the Moon, Do Do Do, and all their other crap singles.
The
Wrong
potato
raid.
famine.
Wrong raid
Wrong
is
raid.
absolutely the right answer, yes.
They busted open someone's door on Halloween, and they said sorry afterwards because they didn't mean to do it.
Yes, the Metropolitan Police, who broke down the wrong door and bundled a poor couple out of bed at gunpoint and into the street wearing handcuffs and pyjamas. So quite what they've been up to, I don't know. Next, who says Oxford is what?
Posh.
Quieter, now Morse is dead.
Who's going to investigate all those murders now he's dead? Because he's the only one that knows what's happening.
No, Lewis always knew what was happening anyway. Morse just sat there and drank, and Lewis came up with the answer.
No, that's not
Lewis.
right. It's like he'd been brought back from the grave.
Almost as if he were here.
Yeah, I don't think Chief Constable Strange is any good for the job. I mean, he won't take over for Morse because he's just specialises in getting angry.
What about Lewis?
They all do that, don't they? Bosses in detective things, like Frost's boss. He's always unnecessarily angry just because Frost's trying to solve a case.
Yeah. He used to get it in Quincy all the time with Jack Klugman. He'd come, 10 minutes from the end, he'd have a row with somebody. And nobody ever said to him, you're a pathologist, you shouldn't be investigating these cases.
Dick Van Dyke's even worse, isn't he? Because he's a doctor. He's not
Is he?
even. He's not even a pathologist. That's nothing to do with him at all.
He shouldn't be getting involved, Angus.
He's a chimney sweep. What on earth's he investigating stuff?
What's the matter, Mary Poppins?
Diagnosis murder.
Don't look down-hearted. It'll all be all right in the end.
Yes, posh was the right answer about 10 minutes ago, which vented spleen means at the end of tonight's nail-biter, this week's Lily Livers are Paul and Jeremy with 15, and this week's Brave Hearts are Ian and Linda with 17. So, a job for life at MI5 to our winners, a job for life at MFI to our losers. But before the welcome surprise of the bar, the nasty shock of our caption competition.
There's a guy on the bike saying, I see a 747's just passed overhead.
Caretaker clears up surplus cocaine after children in need.
Thank you. And I leave you with news that at a cabinet meeting, a 10-year-old loan of 5p is suddenly remembered. In Dorset, Basil Brush's charity parachute jump looks destined to end in catastrophe. And at the President's insistence, the White House receives regular email updates on the Florida election disaster. Good night.
Back to its regular time of Friday at 9. Have I got news for you next week on BBC One? And you can see tonight's edition again on BBC Two tomorrow at 11:35. Next, Cupid's at Work here on BBC One. Kiss Me Kate.